Oh, and we've started. Welcome, everybody. Glad to be back after a week of being away. Really excited to keep sculpting on this guy. After the live stream last time, I went ahead. I was just like so excited to actually try a couple other things out for the shoes. And so I ended up just redrawing in Photoshop, just like using a gradient in Photoshop to make this repeating scale pattern. And so I, I put it in as a texture very, very faintly as well. So it came out a lot cleaner this time. Just made it from scratch. I think the way I made it last time was it kind of got the basics in there, but it was difficult to control very precisely. And by redrawing it in Photoshop, I was able to control it very precisely. But this is a ZBrush live stream, not a Photoshop live stream. So just spared you guys that little bit of experimentation. Anyway, I'm excited to get into sculpting the rest of this guy. I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish him today. There's actually a lot of stuff going on with this. Um, so probably not going to finish it today, but hey, we're just going to jump in and just keep working on this. Um, that's what it's about. It's about making cool stuff. If you're just always focused on like, when is it going to be done? You're not going to enjoy the present moment of just the joy of sculpting. So let's get into it. Um, hey, Anthony Scarcelli, thanks for popping in the chat. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'm pretty excited with how he's coming out. I'm excited though, like to start another project, not because I'm like bored with this one, but I've got some really other cool, interesting concepts I want to start sculpting after this guy. So I'm really excited about that. Hey, Nabs. Thanks. Yeah, I put a lot of time into the shoes, so I'm pretty happy with how they're turning out too. So yeah, yeah. Feel free to make any questions in the chat, or you know, we can chat about all kinds of things while I'm working today. So yeah, just this past weekend, I went to a film and animation festival here in Portland, where I live, and there was a special guest visit by Bill Plimpton. I don't know if anybody knows Bill Plimpton, but if you're at all into indie animation, you definitely know who this guy is. Um, so he came and talked. He showed some behind the scenes animation, some stuff he's been working on lately. I got an autographed DVD of his, and yeah, really really cool stuff. Just really amazing stuff. If you haven't seen Bill Plimpton's animation, I mean, definitely look it up. You got to see it. I've also been playing with my 3D printer, printing some of the projects I did for this live stream in the past. So for example, I don't know how well you're going to be able to see this on my camera, but uh, got a 3D print done of Mo from Calvin and Hobbes. Check out my previous live streams to see that. And then I also printed out Robert Crumb's Burned Out, which I did in a previous live stream as well. And I attempted to print this guy, Worse and Worse by Jim Woodring, and the print had some problems. Probably can't see it very well on this camera, but failed print. I'm gonna have to try to figure out a different way to print this guy. I mean, it doesn't look. I mean, it doesn't look good. Some parts of it turned out nice though. Hey, Blood Rapture, good to see you back. Oh, nice. Glad to hear that Ryan Stills is working out good for you. And Codes the Kid. This is Fire Fam. Thanks so much for the support, you guys. I'm really excited to get sculpting on this today. So yeah, let's just jump in and start making this happen. So just so you guys can see a little more close up of what this concept looks like. Yeah, there's some really cool detail in here. I mean, it's kind of a loose, sketchy drawing, but it really hints at a lot of really great detail. So I'm going to be trying to translate that into the sculpture here. Yeah, I'm just going to dive right in and start sculpting. Anybody here familiar with the work of Bill Plimpton? Any fans of his here? He probably his most famous um, animation is Guard Dog. If you search that up on YouTube, you should find it. Actually, I need to. This guy's posed. Let me see if I can use posable symmetry on this guy. No, it doesn't like it. I get kind of an error that it only found like 60%. Even though I did make it symmetrical, it's not wanting to find that symmetrical pose. Let me try to find it again. No, it doesn't want to find it. That's really... Wait a minute. Make sure that's centered in the world. Yeah, it just doesn't want to find that posable symmetry. That's too bad. So what I can do though, well, the head is I haven't moved that off of the symmetrical axis, so I should be able to sculpt with symmetry with this. Wait a minute, why isn't it showing me the symmetrical axis? So I am using a custom 3D gizmo. You can get it part of my Ryan's Tools Pro. I'm going to put in a link here in the chat. And so the Pro version of my Ryan's Tools includes a lot of cool extras, some alphas, some brushes, some materials, and my custom gizmo, which you can install. All right, there's the gizmo. Oh, I know why it wasn't showing my symmetrical brushes, because I had posable symmetry turned on, which wasn't even working. So something else I'm using here, I'm going to use a lot today, is my crease brush. And it just makes nice creases like that. I made it way before ZBrush came out with their, what do they call it? Before the damn standard brush came out. And honestly, if you compare the two, I like mine better. Just saying. Gizmo Swapper. I haven't tried that. Is it like I think I know what it is. Is it one of those things where you have various different gizmos? Like the gizmo by default has like move, rotate, and scale built into it, but if you want to just have just move, just rotate, or just scale, just for simplicity's sake, you can do that. I think that's what that's about. Seems like a cool idea, but honestly, for the most part, um, it doesn't bother me to have move, rotate, and scale all visible at the same time. So Blood Raptor asks, do I know if I can do a global move by normals with Gizmo like you can with a transpose line? Like when you want to push an area in, deflate. I'm not entirely sure what you're asking. Like, I think, is it like if you hold down control and click on the scale in the gizmo, it does like a global inflate or deflate? Is that what you mean? Show the pure ref. You mean the reference just by itself? Yeah, so this is what this guy looks like. I'll just, you guys go ahead and take a screenshot or something. So yeah, just coming in with my crease brush and trying to define some of these like tighter anatomical areas. No, I wasn't looking at other pictures of alligators. Um, it wouldn't hurt to do that, but I feel like this concept art is so good at showing like the important details and shapes and stuff that I can just basically go based on this. And it's cartoony enough where it doesn't really need um, hyper accurate, realistic reference either. I think if I were designing this from scratch and I didn't have this sketch, I would definitely want to have some alligator reference on hand. I'm gonna hide that snake. It's just getting in my way. Posture check. You're right. I could sit up a little more straight in my seat. Thanks, Mr. J. So yeah, this is the part of the process where I kind of get just really focused on what I'm doing and don't necessarily. It's hard to chat and like do this stuff at the same time for me. But if anybody has any questions, yeah, just go ahead and put them in the chat. Oh yeah, definitely using a graphics tablet. I've got a Wacom Pro, which is pretty cool, but if I ever do replace my tablet, I'm probably not going to go with Wacom. I feel like they are dropping the ball. Yeah, I've heard really good things about the competitors to Wacom. Probably going to want to 3D print this guy eventually. And one of the kind of frustrating things about 3D printing is getting the little fine things like teeth or these shoelaces or like this spinner top. Those things are going to be difficult to print without breaking. So I'll probably have to thicken some of those things up. What brushes should a beginner focus on first? That's a really good question because there are a few brushes that you'll end up using the most, and they're not, for the most part, the fancy brushes, right? There's fancy brushes that do fancy things. Really, I would say focus on the simple brushes. Clay is a really good one to focus on. Move, um, my custom crease brush. As part of Orion's Tools Pro, there's also a what did I call it? Um, custom clay. There's a brush in there called custom clay, which I'm actually using right now, which is just a really good smooth volume builder. But it's just simple brushes. It's clay, it's move, inflate, because those are the ones that just give you straightforward, simple sculpting control. And all the fancy brushes really, they might make the occasional task like faster, but a lot of times I find that they kind of do a very specific thing really well, but they don't quite exactly do what I want them to do, and I end up having to do a lot of manual sculpting anyway. So I might as well just do the manual sculpting from the start. So yeah, I definitely recommend picking up Ryan's tools. The way I have scripted them, it really saves a lot of time. Like if I have to go use a computer that's not my own and do ZBrush on it, it feels like it slows me way down. So I've got a lot of features in there that just kind of replace existing features and makes them work a lot more smoothly. Like helps avoid like random pop-up errors and messages that aren't really important that just kind of break your flow or just bypass annoying little inconveniences like if you want to like mirror something, you can't do it if it has subdivision levels. But with Ryan's tools, I have buttons for mirroring, and it just like keeps your subdivision levels. And there's things like if you delete a subtool in the standard ZBrush, it's gone. Like you can't undelete it. But I have a system called a trash bin, and it creates a special separate subtool where trash goes. And so you can undelete subtools. So that saves time a lot of the time when I accidentally delete a subtool I didn't want to delete. All right, I'm going to shift gears a little bit and pose the tail. There is actually a new brush that's going to be really handy for this, the Anchors brush. So it just kind of lets you kind of bend things pretty easily. Thanks, Mr. J. Let's see, I think there's a twist variation of this. See if I can use it to twist that tail. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I kind of like this brush, actually. Looks like there's some manual sculpting adjustments to do, but it's pretty cool. So I've moved the tail so it looks pretty close to where it should be relative to the reference. But I just want to take a look at it kind of in 3D and just make sure that makes sense. I feel like the tails comes out a little too quickly to the side, like it bends a little too quickly, so I'm just going to make some adjustments to that. Try to let it come out straight back first before it curves too much. Actually, we could start that curve happening in the back too. All right, yeah, I like that. That's pretty good. So I think I'm going to make the scales on his body with separate objects. I'll probably make like an insert mesh brush where I can kind of lay out little kind of like smoothed, I don't know what you'd call them, like little tile shapes, kind of organic tile shapes, and kind of just kind of, I don't know, layer those together. Again, it's kind of like the shoes. Getting that scale pattern on the shoes, it was a little bit of a process trying to figure out exactly how that's going to get done best. There's always a little bit of trial and error. But the best part, or the best thing is to do is just, if you don't know how to do something in ZBrush, you just jump in and start throwing things together. And sometimes you have to start over. Sometimes it takes a lot of time to make it all work, but that's what it's about. Putting in that time and getting it to work. And so the next time you just know that much more, have that much more experience, so it looks better the next time. But one thing I do want to make sure I've got is the pose like really where I want it to be, so that when I add in these scales as separate objects, I don't have to go do a lot of like refixing of the pose, because then I don't want to like have to move the body and the scales together, because they're like, if they're two separate objects, then it kind of becomes cumbersome to move them together. Gonna scale this back. I get it. Scale it back. Ah, I forgot to turn symmetry on. I always do that. Anybody else always forget to turn their symmetry on? Ah, good. So it's not just me. Wish there was kind of like an undo, but the kind of the opposite of undo. Like if you did some sculpting and symmetry was supposed to be on, but it wasn't. There's sort of like a button you could hit that would go back and like um, apply the like previous strokes, but symmetrically. That would be a good option to have. I'd like that in Photoshop too. If I'm painting on the wrong layer, I'd just be like, oh crap, do those last 10 strokes, but on a different layer, instead of having to undo it and then go redo it on a different layer. But it's actually probably good that it doesn't. It's Probably good to train my brain to just remember every time which layer am I on, or is symmetry turned on. So here's a part that I don't really see in the concept, but I'm just going to try to infer what I know about alligators and the concept art. There's probably going to be some creases under here. Some of these details probably have to be sculpted in, and others will be better as separate objects, and it's not always clear which is going to be which, so might as well just, I don't know, just just start sculpting things, you know. It's not always clear what the best path is going to be until you've already taken it. Anybody else have that problem where it like you'll be using a brush and then it just shoots a line across your screen? It happens to me all the time. It's a problem with the lazy mouse. I think it only happens with brushes with lazy mouse. Guy's got a nice six-pack. Cool, well, I'm glad I'm not the only one with that problem. Pops up all the time. Wanted to add a bit more detail into the brim of the hat. There's like some specific detail. Nice. And I actually might go and add stitches into this too, to sort of keep it, keep the detail consistent between the shoes and the hat. Just like to switch gears, you know, do some sculpting and then do some like polygon modeling stuff and then do some fine detail work. Just keep jumping around. Ah, shoot. I changed my brush size. I didn't store it. Well, now I'm gonna have to try to figure out what stitch size I had on this. That looks about the same. I have a special thing here that'll store the brush size and then recall it if I have to come back to it. Does the live stream say that Chloe is streaming? Is that why people are saying hi, Chloe? Chloe, why did you shave your head and grow your beard? That seems to constantly be an issue with the ZBrush live stream is they don't update the name of who's doing it. See, I think I can probably extract these stitches and then um, duplicate them. So let's see, we'll split them into a separate object, duplicate them, flip them, and then actually it might be a little bit of an annoyance to rotate them into place. But if I have to redraw them, I'll redraw them. Yeah, that's not too bad. I should be able to just use the move brush now to kind of tweak them where they should really go. Cool, I like it. Okay. Hey, Steamworks TC, good to see you back. So, I think I'm gonna start, I've been putting it off long enough, putting these scales on as separate objects because it's just, I know it's gonna be a big project to do. But I should start on it sooner rather than later. And it's gonna be a real manual job too, like just really laying those scales out one by one manually. And so I was not looking forward to it. But you know what? It's time to stop procrastinating. It's time to get to it. Just to refresh everybody's memory. Gonna make these scales here as separate objects and just kind of like paste them on one at a time. So it's gonna get involved, everybody. It's about to get intense. Hey, thanks a lot, Steamworks. I did a little reworking on that shoe texture after the last live stream. Just kind of rebuilt it in Photoshop so it was like super clean and precise. So before I make these scales, what I should probably do then is like make an insert mesh brush. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll make an insert mesh brush. Try to make one single scale. And I want it to be kind of as simple as possible. So I'm going to make it as low poly as I can get away with. Okay. And I think I can probably make all of these scales by just like making different, like drawing them out and then sort of varying their thickness or their width or their size, etc. after I draw them out. All right, well, I guess I'm just going to jump in and try it out. Let's see if this works. I want them to kind of like shingle on top of each other, so I'm going to change the angle on that a little bit. And we'll make this an insert mesh brush. Thanks, Casey Forster. I feel so supported right now. Okay, now as we know, you can't draw an insert mesh brush onto a subtool that has subdivisions. So we have to like select a subtool that doesn't have subdivisions in order to start drawing that out. Doesn't really matter what subtool that is. I'm just going to pick this eyeball. Or maybe the hat. You know what? I'm not going to pick it in the window. I'm going to pick it in the... Oh, that's weird. I had a random object. Oh, no, that's from the construction. Okay, here's the eyeballs. All right, let's see how this works. Uh-oh. That didn't work right. Draw size. Oh, there it goes. Huh. I can't see it as it's drawing it out. Why is that? If I draw it on the gator's body, it's not showing me a live update. That's weird. I can draw it on there. It's never done this before, where it's not letting me see it draw out as it's drawing out. Huh. So, while I'm being frustrated with this problem, Schober asks, how do you make an IMM? Pretty simple. You just have an object selected and visible that you want to be your brush, like a subtool, and then you just go to brush, create insert mesh, and voila. Oh, I think I know what the problem is. This eyeball is it's an instanced object. There we go. Yep, that's the solution. I'll probably have to do it without symmetry, so I have to do two different sides independently, which is going to take a lot of time, but you know what? That's okay. We've got a lot of time. We'll just hang out and chat all day. So there's a couple settings I might want to adjust on this brush. I want it maybe to go in deeper, so we can go to, actually you guys can't see this. Let me change something here real quick. So now you can see my full ZBrush interface. Let's go to brush and let's go to depth and we'll make this sit deeper in. Yeah, that's a little better. It's actually rotated more than I really want it to be rotated. And I could probably change that after I draw one out. I'll just go in and rotate it after, but I actually have a feeling that I'm going to do that a lot if I keep on doing it like this. So I'm just going to kind of undo a bit of that rotation that I had done previously, and make a new insert mesh brush. And we'll just append it. You got it, Shober. All right, now let's see how this works. Okay. Got a good amount of rotation. It just needs to sit in deeper. All right, cool. Okay, so yep, from here on out, it's just kind of gonna be a process of laying these guys out. Some of them are gonna be taller, some of them are gonna be shorter. You know what? I need to get a hotkey for this because I can't be switching back and forth. Actually, you know what? I think, let me try something. Yeah, I've got my hotkey set up in such a way where I can easily switch between my gizmo and this insert mesh brush, so I think this is going to work okay. So it looks like drawing scales is my job today. Now I could also do some control and translate, duplicate. That's also a thing I can do and make it a little faster. I just wanted to add some variation. I don't want them to all look like they're kind of perfectly lined up. you want to put a little variation in there. Yeah, I think I can kind of visualize what this is going to look like, and I am liking it. I think it's going to look really cool. It's just going to take a lot of time, that's all. That's okay. I've got all the time. I think at some point there's going to have to be a transition between these insert mesh scales and sculpted scales as well. So that'll be an interesting thing to figure out too. But I think the overlap is going to create some nice kind of like sharp contact shadows. So not too worried about it. I just kind of think I thought of maybe a faster way to do this. I don't know about better, but definitely faster. I could try to use the nano mesh. Mm-mm-mm. Eh, I don't know. I'm kind of enjoying this. This is kind of like a fun little thing that just gets me in the sculpting zone. So I'll just keep going this way. Surface noise with masking and an alpha. Yeah, maybe. I would have to create the alpha though, and creating the alpha is going to be as much work as laying these things out manually, I think. But really, it's not that bad. People in the movie industry, I mean, it's their job to do this for for hero characters and stuff. I mean, all the scales are laid out manually anyway, a lot of times. I just think if you're getting paid to do this for a job, it's really not that bad, right? Way less, way less appealing jobs to just sit and do. Okay, so I'm going to move on now to a different section because I am kind of contemplating maybe there is a better way to do this, but I'm going to kind of like rest my brain from doing that for a moment and like focus on a different section. VDM brush for the scales. Not really, because of the way they overlap. You got one scale, and if you do the way you draw it out overlaps another scale, it's actually going to include the deformation on the edge of one scale in the new scale, and it'll not do what you want it to do. I think I will attempt something with insert nano mesh, but I'm gonna clear my head for a moment and work on something else while I kind of ponder my options. Okay, that was a nice little break from thinking about the scales. Okay, so I'm gonna actually try something. I'm just gonna hide this for right now and just call this scales test. I'm gonna try something just totally different. See how this works. I don't know, we'll see. Um, okay, so I'm gonna identify different sections of the body that are gonna have certain types of scales. So I'll just do it by masking, right? So there's kind of the back of the head, side of the head, and down the back is looks like it kind of has one scale pattern. I'll just do this one to test. If this looks good and works out, then I'll probably go through and do the rest. But each one is going to kind of have its own scale pattern. Okay, so there's the back scale pattern. Customize scale and use a brush with a spray stroke. Probably mean a brush with an alpha, spraying an alpha. It's going to have the same problem as a VDM brush where the scales will overlap, and where they overlap, it won't understand. If a scale half overlaps an existing scale, the edge of the existing scale will still like be visible on the new scale where they should be overlapping, and it won't work. But yeah, I'm going to try this. Let's extract this out. I'm using Ryan's Tools Extract. Just taking whatever's masked and popping it out as a separate object. And I'm going to Z-remesh this. And I want to get it Z-remesh so that there's roughly like one polygon per scale. So it's going to be a pretty low res Z-remesh. Hmm. I'm getting an error when I go to Z-remesh. Uh-oh, I think ZBrush is going to crash. Oh, phew, I did it. It worked. Okay, that's a little too low res. Let's try that again. Set the resolution a little higher. A little better. I'm going to increase the resolution just a bit more. Okay, that's pretty good. Well, there's that one really stretched polygon. Just going to do a little bit of manual adjustment here. Okay. It's actually kind of nice that there's a little bit of like chaos in this. It's not a perfect clean edge flow. That might actually add some nice organic randomness to this. Okay, so I'll lay out UVs really quick. And let's go to Insert, Nano Mesh on all polygons. Let's go to our Nano Mesh settings. Actually, I'll bring back my full UI so you guys can see this. We'll get that custom brush I made. And let's see, replace Nano Mesh from brush. There's different ways this can be oriented. And we'll just put in some like randomization here with the width and the length and the height. Try to randomize it a bit. Put in some random offset. Don't want it to get too jumbled. Be a lot of playing around with these settings though. Maybe it'll work for like a first pass and then I just manually go in and do some adjustments for a second pass. But this looks like it might at least give us a foundation to do some manual scale placement on. You know, it's not bad. I think it's definitely a foundation for doing manual scale placement. But a lot of them don't follow really where I want them to flow. I wish one of the alignment options was aligned to UV because I can lay out the UVs and have them going where I want the direction of the scales to lay down at. If I do align to normal, at least the tilt outwards can be consistent, but yeah, I think it's always going to involve some manual work, you know. It's good not to think of the tools in any software really as like a way to avoid doing manual work. Playing around with a couple other settings just to see if they do something interesting. Okay, see, never do another dragon ever. It's a lot of work. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and lock this in, and then maybe I'll do like a secondary pass with, 'cause in the concept, there's a few random scales that are like super thin, and I'll do a second pass with some randomly placed thin ones, and then I'll go ahead and do a manual adjustment on this. So, I mean, it's not great, but it's not awful. I think it's going to give us a foundation to start doing some real manual work with. And then what I can do is I'll do a separate extracted patch for the arms and legs. And that will be kind of like a smaller, tighter pattern. And then I think I'll do the rest manually. So yeah, it's an option. It's one of many tools in the toolbox. Okay, so let me grab this pattern here, and then I'll put another insert nano mesh on it. Then what I want to do is I want to do actually a random distribution. Hey, Avanon, thanks for joining. And this one is going to be kind of a narrower. Yeah. And we'll get a little variation in height as well. Put a bit of rotation on it. And just trying to put some more random variation into this. Okay. I generally like it. Obviously, going to take some manual work to get it where I really want it to be, but it's not bad. Let's see, I think I've got an idea for how I want to kind of rotate some of these scales. There's a spiral brush. It'll kind of spin them around. Where is that brush? Is it spiral? Is it something else? There it is, yeah, spiral. Let's get a really big brush. And mask by polygroups. Yeah, look, it's just going to take them and kind of twist them. And I can hold Alt and they'll twist the other direction. The orb pack. Nope, I don't. I don't even know what that is, so I'm guessing no, I don't use it. What is the orb pack? Please enlighten us. Yeah, I think I've seen it out there somewhere. I have not used it though. I'm gonna delete some of these scales that I'm not super happy with. There's some that are kind of overlapping awkwardly, or they get too clustered together. Yeah, I think I'm gonna get rid of the ones that are where I've already kind of manually placed them because I really liked the manual placement I did. Okay, yeah, that's definitely gonna save some time, and then I'll just do some manual placement on top of this. We're getting down to like the last 15 minutes. Wow, time really flies. All right, I guess I'll go ahead and isolate the section now for the arms and legs. Hey Watson, thanks for joining. I think I'll do the same pattern on the legs. All right, same deal here. Just going to Z remesh it so that the polygon density is the same as the scale density that I want. Am I making a weird face? Okay, I think that that density looks about right. Let me just make sure there's not any really weird geometry. That's a little weird. Okay, looking pretty clean. Yeah, people who work with me in person or like are around me, they're like, Ryan, you're so focused when you're working. It's like Michael Jordan when he would like do a slam dunk, his like tongue would be out. He'd be like super focused. He wouldn't even realize his tongue was hanging out. It's just like that. Basically I'm the Michael Jordan of sculpting. That's what I'm saying. No, I'm kidding. Okay, cool. Well, we're getting close to the end here, but I guess I have probably enough time to just barely put on some scales on the arms and legs. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh, nice. Yeah, 3ds Max was one of the first 3D softwares I learned. Unfortunately, I'm running into the same issue with like the orientation of them. It's even more crazy because at least on the the back, like most of the geometry was like an up-down orientation, but this is like, going down limbs and stuff, and it's really not wanting to like obey a directionality. It's a little frustrating. So if I align to normal, well, I don't know, it might be useful. Yeah, but then it just gets really weird over here. In some places it's okay. Yep, agreed, Avanon. I'm going to Z-remesh again, but with like a little less density. And actually what I can do is I can change the adaptive size, and what that's going to do is kind of stretch out the polygons, which will allow me to align relative to the length of the edge, which could come in handy. It's really deforming my shape though. Why is it doing that? Okay, yeah, by using some adaptive size, I can have the polygons come out a little bit stretched, which will actually help me orient these. But actually they're stretching the wrong way. I don't want that number of them. This is frustrating. Well, it is just a base for doing manual work. I shouldn't expect it to be anything other than that. And it is playing that role. So I'm going to go ahead and leave it here because our time is just about up anyway. But yeah, I'll be continuing with this next week. Same time, 10 a.m. Pacific time, right here, Wednesday. Thanks so much for joining me, everybody. It's been a real pleasure just getting some work done and having some people here checking it out while I do it. So I'll see everybody.